La France est une garce et on s'est fait trahir le système. Voilà ce qui nous pousse à la haine. C'est ce qui rend nos propos vulgaires. On nique la France sous une tendance musique populaire. On est d'accord, on se moque des répressions. On se fout la République et la liberté d'expression. Faut changer des lois et pouvoir voir bientôt à l'Élysée des Arabes et des Noirs au pouvoir.
Okay. All right. So that was French, I'm assuming.
That was French, yes. It's a song by this French rap group called Sniper. It's early 2000s rap song. It's called La France. It's called La France. La France est une garce. France is a bitch. And it betrays us.
Ooh.
The system pushes us to hate it. The hatred makes us vulgar, or hatred makes us the way we are. We fuck France because using our popular music or using our rap music. And the reason why is because of all the repression and all the discrimination and, all of the, and we hate the Republic, or we make fun of the Republic using the liberty of expression that's given by the French state. Because we need to change the laws so we can see blacks and Arabs in power at the Elysee Palace, which is like their White House. Ooh. So that's what that was just saying. Yeah.
Oh wow. I mean,
yes.
That girl. When you told me you want to do a rap, I didn't know where it was going, but I feel like that's right for the moment. Welcome to Two Save Queens. We're still here to talk about politics, dick, and the race war, which is going on right now. So that was it. That was the song for the moment. How did you hear that song? I didn't know you were into some like French hip hop.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this song is from the early 2000s. Like I remember listening to it back during our college days. When I was taking, I minored in French. I was taking French classes, and we had like a very young lecturer in one of our French classes. And she introduced us to French rap. Like, it was back in the days when...
Were they a person of color?
It was a white girl. Okay. It was a white French girl.
White people do love some hip-hop.
Yeah, especially French people. And, this was one of the songs she introduced us to. There's a few really good ones. I mean, honestly, I love French rap. I really do.
So I have a question for you, but first, let me introduce myself because I forgot to do it. I'm Miss Malachi, and I'm joined by the militant and Francophile. Oh, let me just say Francophile. French rapping, Miss Deveraux. Would you call yourself a Francophile? Hey. Is that I feel like sometimes when people are like Franco, like I think about Anglophiles, like, oh, you just like tea and you like, Downton Abbey, but like I feel like you understand French culture, French history, you speak French fluently, so I feel like almost a Francophile is kind of disrespectful. What do you think?
I don't think it's disrespectful, but I don't know if it's that accurate anymore. I just think I just learned a lot about the French language and culture. But girl, they have a lot of this. Like, I actually think that black people and Arabs, which are like their equivalent of Latinos, like, because they don't, like
immigration tea.
Yeah, Arabs are the biggest immigrant group in France, and then blacks would be next. And I think they have it, believe it or not, almost worse than we do economically and in social mobility. And so I can't really stand the French state like that. I can't really like feature her knowing what she does to like, you'll rarely see black and Arab people in very high paying jobs or high government jobs in France. And we have black congresswomen and congressmen, and we had a black president here.
That was the tea, right? Like, I even think about that with Miss UK. Like, I think for a lot of those European countries that are supposed to be so open and so this, they're always judging us. And it's like, y'all are the original racists. And it's like, and you don't always see it anymore, because I feel like especially Miss France, like, she's got a lot of history with colonization, and she's still, fights with oh god, now I'm forgetting the name, not Dominican, Haiti, about
Haiti, debt repayment,
like that's completely like history of their colonization, of their imperial tea. But yeah, when you're like, well, where's their Oprah? Like, so I think one of it was you or someone I was talking to was like, where's their Oprah? Where's their
I think that was me. I think I always say that, like, where is the British Oprah? Where's the French Oprah? Like, where are their where are their black superstars? Where's their Beyonce? And I just feel like, where's their Michael Jackson from the, like, I think they have had some, like, obviously we have Michaela Cole out of the UK now. We had Leona Lewis.
Yeah, I think the UK in some ways is I don't know. I shouldn't even say better. It's different. But I think the other interesting thing, because I have a girlfriend of mine, a white, she's British and French, and even she would talk about going back there as a white woman, that, like, for her, France is also, like, they are just very hierarchical. They're very, like, old school about certain things. And in some ways it's less, like, you don't move up as quickly. Like, there's more politics to the way you, like, there's only certain types of jobs you can get. Like, in some ways it is, for even white people, it's like a very kind of, in some ways a little classist, it feels like. Did you ever feel that?
Let me tell you, in France, like in France, almost all of their top politicians all went to one college. All went to this college called Sciences Po.
And ours, we only went to, like, one of 6 or 7.
I mean, it's a broader range.
Yeah,
though.
I know. Hey, come on, Kamala Harris. Come on, Howard.
Howard University, right? She went to a state school for law.
Did I say her name
California.
right? I said it right.
Kamala. Yeah. But, yeah, so I mean, we have had exceptions to that, whereas they are very, like, this president, Emmanuel Macron, he is so sexy. He's
fine.
That sexy colonizer.
With his, like, oh no, not sexy colonizer.
With his wife.
with his like, who was, what used to be his teacher?
Oh, that's so scandalous.
That's so French tea. Like, what's she, like, 20 years older than him? 20 years older than him?
Girl, she's 20. So Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, he's like 42, and his wife is 64 or 66.
And she looks good. She looks good. I think she looks good.
She's 24 years older than him, so she's probably 66.
Let me focus on that part.
But they started messing around with each other allegedly when he was 15 years old, and she was his teacher.
Wait, when he was 15?
That bitch would have been locked up over here. That bitch would have been locked up in the U.S., right? But, like,
when it's right, it's right.
Mean, his parents actually sent him away to boarding school for his last year of high school to get him away from her.
But she still got him.
But he said, I'm going to marry her. And she was already married with, like, 2 or 3 kids. And he said, I'm going to marry her, girl. And he came right back around after college.
That's French tea.
But when I tell you that nigga was fine as hell, when I look at pictures of him, like, in his college days and stuff, and he had a full head of hair.
He still got some good hair.
And he still got some good hair, and he is so fine. But he used to have this big bushy hair.
Oh, yeah.
And
but there was some other bush down there, too. Those
that,
French like to
French
be a little...
tea?
Yeah, that's some other French tea.
Because she would have been locked up here in the U.S.
Man.
That's crazy.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. He's so sexy, though. And he gives... I just feel like I've like been joking, but, like, you know how you're supposed to use the law of attraction and call stuff into existence? Like, I think I'm gonna screw him one day. Like, I literally want to screw him.
Is that the law of attraction you want to use? That's the law of attraction.
That's the way I want to use my shit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way I want to use my energy.
Not just the next
I want to screw the French president.
The current one.
The current one.
Okay.
Even if he's not president anymore. I'm gonna get
Why?
that. Like, I don't know. I just feel like if that old bitch can get it, like, I feel like I can too.
All right, so what about this? Him versus Obama. Who would you rather?
See, I can't. You know why I couldn't?
Because you like Michelle too much.
Black household, yeah. So I would go for the French president just because I don't give a fuck.
That's fair. You don't want to you don't want to mess up a black home.
Exactly. That's. I mean, not that I haven't. Already.
Not that you haven't done that before.
I'm joking. I've never messed up.
Just kidding.
Just
kidding.
We'll talk. I'm a Christian woman. I'm a good Christian.
We are called 2 saved queens. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, girl, I know this episode we're gonna call it a little bit of pandemic story time. So we've been busy this week doing emails, talking about news. So we're gonna give a little bit of time for you to catch up because you have been surprisingly had an eventful time in quarantine. So you got some stories to tell me. So we're gonna get to those, but before we do, and we also have an email that we got in. But before we do that,
okay.
girl, the RNC's finished. I was just wondering because I didn't watch any of it. I saw parts of it. I think I was thinking about going to watch Trump's speech because I was like, you should do this, right? You literally have a political cultural show. You should do this. And then I watched that CNN commentator go through all the lies he told. He spent like 15 minutes reading like, well, this was a lie and this was a lie and this was a lie and this. And I was like, why am I going to go? Apparently it was a 17-minute speech. Am I going to go listen to him say lies for 17 minutes? So, but you're that girl to watch those things. So you don't have to go into it too much, but RNC, what's your take? What do you think? The coonery, the messiness, all of it.
Well, I felt like the RNC was very effective for their base to rally their base. Like,
which, to be fair, is the point of the conventions, right? Is to get solidify your base, get them ready for the fall.
But I don't think it turned any swing voters. Like that's the thing, and I think they needed to do because I don't feel like his base is large enough. Like, really, Trump won partially. Okay, yeah, he had an enthusiastic base in 2016, but it was those swing voters in the suburbs, those white women in the suburbs, those college-educated white women, college-educated white men who some of them went last minute for him over Hillary, especially after the James Comey letter was released on October 28th.
Ooh, never forget that man. Never forget that man.
Never forgive that man, because I think had James Comey, I think Hillary might have won the election had James Comey not released that letter.
I absolutely believe. Even with the email stuff, because the email stuff had been going on for so long that it was even kind of dying down. Because I went back, it relates to one of our emails, but I went back and someone was literally mentioning the email thing about one of their why they were supporting Trump. But even that, I think that Comey, he fucked it up. Ooh. And then to think that he's now been like a commentator and released a book, and you're like, if that man
he's trying to be a member of the resistance now, he's trying to be like against Trump now.
The fuck out of you. Ugh. But sorry, go ahead, girl. Let me not go off.
Yeah. So I think it was effective for base motivation, and I want to see if there's a convention bounce from that, because some of his voters had planned to sit this election out. Some of even people who really like him because they think he screwed up the pandemic. This might have at least got them off the sidelines. They're not swing voters. They just weren't going to vote in 2016. This might have gotten some of them off the sidelines, so his polling numbers might go up, after that convention. But yeah, Daniel Dale from CNN, who's a Canadian journalist and a fact checker, I mean, he fact checked the shit out of Trump's speech. And oddly enough, like, the convention up until Trump's speech was like very well produced, I have to say. It was very the graphics and the visuals are very good, and even the themes.
It felt like the issue was the actual like, could we talk about Miss Kimberly Guilfoyle? I can't do her last name. Guilfoyle. Who was like that energy. I'm talking about Donald J. Trump Jr.'s Coke energy, but yeah, I mean, it's a production. Like, they had Ivanka there and she was doing her thing. I can't wait for her to run.
But even like some of the, like, not necessarily the speeches, but like some of the segments in between the speeches were very well produced.
But some of that shit was fake. Like, I heard about the visa thing. Like, some of that shit was like a little shady.
Yeah, because so for instance, like the people where they had the naturalization ceremony where people became U.S. citizens, they didn't know that they were going to be that they were going to be featured in the Republican National Convention. And then there was this black girl in New York who was being interviewed, and she doesn't support Trump, and they didn't tell her what her video was going to be used for. She probably signed a release and they got paid something, but they didn't tell her what they were going to use it for. So they're so shady. But I will say this. I don't think any swing voters who were like deciding between Biden and Trump, I don't think it changed them. I think it only just got some of his people off the sidelines who think he fucked the pandemic up, but otherwise like him. And yeah, but Trump's speech itself was very flat. Like, it wasn't a very animated, it was surprisingly like subdued and not his best delivery. It was actually not that great, like, for him. Like, he's usually a animated speaker, even though he's saying all that bullshit, and he wasn't in this speech.
Was she on every night? Was she talking every night?
Yeah, but she wasn't doing a live speech every night.
Okay, she was just checking in. She was just being a host.
Yeah, she had segments every night, but she wasn't live. But she used the White House as a prop, violated so many laws, the Hatch Act, etc. Even though I don't think DJT actually violated the Hatch Act because it doesn't apply to the president. But like Ivanka did, all the people who spoke at the podium, like in front of the White House lawn, who were staffers, they all violated the law. Because
you're not supposed to use
when you're an appointed official in the government, you're not supposed to use government property and government resources for political purposes. So using the White House for a convention speech, it violates the law. It's not legal.
But they don't care. They don't.
But
if Obama had done it.
Yeah.
And then moving on to the March on Kenosha and the March on Washington. Did you catch your flight, girl? Did you go?
Oh, girl, now you know I would not go to that. Like, I am not going in a crowd.
Let me not be messy.
I support the movement. I just don't. I didn't go.
I didn't go either. And it was interesting. I was talking to my mom today, and I was telling her, I was just talking to her about it, and she's like, "Oh, I'm glad you didn't go." I'm like, "Oh, why?"
Oh,
but yeah, it was interesting. But and we had talked a little bit about this. But I was just curious if you knew anyone who had gone or what you. It looked good.
Obviously one of our fervent listeners, one of our religious listeners went, and she relished the experience.
Listeners.
She took some cute Instagram pictures. But yeah, so that I know a few people who went, and it was crowded. I was glad I just wished all the girls kept their mask on the whole time. That was the only thing. I wish the girls would keep their mask on. I heard it was hot and humid. DC is hot and humid in the summer. I've lived in DC, but I still wish the girls had kept their mask on. But that's it. That's my only critique.
Yeah. There's something I wanted to go with that, but I think I'll save it for another episode, because I've been having this back and forth with a friend about like voting versus like, doing things like marches and riots and, what is most needed in this moment. But it's for another episode. Because I have
that would be a good episode, though.
Because I have like
the value.
Yeah,
the value of different actions within like the movement, voting versus marching versus rioting versus all of that too. Yeah.
So we'll save that. And I think we can get into your story time, girl, unless you have something else to catch the girls up on.
No, let's get right into it. The story time.
Yeah, what's because this is also our catch up. We haven't talked in a couple of days because I know you've just been busy this week with the day job tea.
Oh yes.
So girl, what's the tea? Tell what's going on, girl. How's Detroit? How's life?
Girl. So it wasn't just the day job keeping me, even though I am a 7-day work week,
7
girl.
days. Girl, even the Lord took a day of rest, bitch.
7 whole days.
Yes, Tony.
7 whole nights.
Ooh, that's good.
Okay. But no, I am a 7-day girl. So, but that's not even what's been keeping me busy, girl. So like, what happened is we have a COVID memorial coming up. Or actually, by the time this show airs, we're taping a little early.
Yeah,
we can be,
girls.
Open
we're taking
and
a week
transparent
off.
with the girls. Yeah.
So
we're taping on Sunday when we usually tape on Tuesdays. And we're taping on Sunday for the Wednesday.
Because I didn't want y'all to be without a show, but we just kind of need a moment to rest. We also wanted to do some stuff behind the scenes, think about like future shows, working on some guests. So we're still working on the show behind the scenes, but we just needed a breath. But I was also like, we can't miss a show. At least right now, I'm saying that. Down the line, we'll see if I feel different.
See, I was ready to let you hoes go without one.
She was like, bitch, you're not recording. I was like, no, let's just do.
Fuck y'all bitches. I'm too goddamn tired. But Miss Malachi said, no, we had to release something.
And so we're just catching up.
We're doing
this
it
why
a little
we're
early.
just going to have like story time and just catch up. So you get what you get. So go ahead, girl.
You get what you get. So so it's actually so I don't know if the girls know this, but so New York City, obviously we know New York City was devastated by COVID, right? But the city in the United States, especially early in the pandemic, I don't know if this is still the case because LA's numbers have crept up, and the Houston and Miami and LA have crept up. But as of the early part of the pandemic, March, April, May, and even up to early June, like Detroit, and this is probably still the case though, where Detroit has had the second highest death rate of any major city in this country for COVID. So 1 in 500 Detroiters died of COVID. Oof. 1 out of every 500 people in Detroit died of COVID. Okay. In New York, it's more like 1 out of every, like, and I think in New York, it's 1 out of every, let me see, 1 out of every 330 in New York. So New York is a slightly higher death. Yeah, New York is a slightly higher death rate. New Orleans is just behind us. Chicago is behind us too. But Detroit is 1 in every 500 people died of COVID. So we have this COVID memorial run by the city of Detroit happening, on Monday of this week. So before, the show airs, where the families, they're actually like letting the families gather like in a funeral style procession in cars, and they're going to ride around our version of Central Park here in Detroit. It's called Belle Isle. It's actually an island. And it's an island where there's a bridge, and it's actually designed by the same person who designed Central Park.
Oh, wow.
Olmsted.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it's a huge urban park. It's probably the second largest urban park in the country after New York. So, is Belle Isle. And so, or it's up there in top 5 at least. And so it's interesting because, so my mom was like volunteering for it because her good Judy, her good girlfriend, is running it. She works for the city of Detroit. She's a former newspaper columnist. But I cannot stand this woman. Like, when I tell you I do not fuck with her, I do not fuck with her. No. She was a very famous newspaper columnist here in Detroit, but before that, she worked for the Washington Post.
This sounds like your kind of girl. Like, I bet she has some good tea, some good, like a nice, good, messy fish girl. Really? What is so awful
She's
about
the most self-absorbed person that she has no kids, nothing like that. She has a dog. She's like one of those dog ladies.
Does she walk her dog in a stroller?
She gives that
close enough. Close enough.
Everything revolves around her dog. Everything revolves around her dog. This baby boomer middle-aged fish, everything revolves around her dog. She's the most self-absorbed person. She calls me I know I have all these brothers, but she constantly calls me by my brother's name. She never gets my name right.
How long has she and your mother been friends?
She'll call
long enough to know your name. Basically, is what I'm asking.
A long time. I mean, I would say at least 10 years.
So
she's not
that's
an
long
old,
enough
old
to
friend.
know your name. I mean, 10 years, and she's still calling you by your other brother's name.
And so she calls me by the brother though, who's actually gone over to her house and helped her and fixed stuff for her. I don't interact with her as much, but the brother whose name she uses that she calls me is actually the one who helps her, literally goes over her house when she needs something and helps her with whatever. Wow. He's such a sweetheart. This brother is the nicest. He's the nicest. He's of all of us. And then, so she calls me by his name. Now, this nigga's been in your house at least 5 times, bitch. How are you gonna call me? We don't look exactly. We don't even look alike. He's even lighter than me. I'm a light-skinned girl. He's the lightest out of all of us. And he's taller than me. We look totally different. So, anyway, but why can't, so I don't fuck with her. One of our good Judys who has worked with, knows her, doesn't fuck with her. No, she's anyway. So anyway, she has a terrible reputation, in terms of her professionalism and her diva attitude. She's supposedly even, anyway, I won't even get into that. But anyway, so she's over this COVID memorial, girl. So my mom was helping her sort all the enlarged photos of all the people who died. We had 1,500 people die in the city of Detroit alone from COVID. 1,500 out of 600,000 people. And 900 of their families submitted photos for this memorial. Mm-hmm. Possibly some people from the suburbs too, I think, submitted. So it's not an exact 900 from the city, but it's a lot of them. So my mom was helping her sort like the photos in alphabetical order after they were printed. And my mom is like a professional woman in a totally different capacity. She does not work in government. Like has a whole different life. Don't you know this bitch who works for the government, who like, don't you know she went and left my mom there to go do something with her dog and left my mom at the thing to like sort it just, and then on top of that, so that's one thing. So my mom called the other city, the city of Detroit people, like, who were supposed to be involved. Like, you guys got to come and do this. I have to go do my own work. Like, I've been here 4 hours already doing this.
I have a whole
job. I'm not like, I'm volunteering a little bit, but like, this bitch left me here. But then that was like Thursday or Friday when that happened. So they placed them out there Saturday morning. And it was like super windy Saturday morning. They placed the pictures out there. So I go out there Saturday, like early evening, because I want to see like the pictures on the tribute. I just kind of want to see them. Yeah. Girl, I go out and look, and some of like the photos are like halfway on the ground. Like a good 14 or 15 of them flew away.
No.
I look, because like the sticks were still there, but the pictures had flown away. Girl, the pictures had flown away. So I was like calling my mom, like this bitch needs to take care of this. Like, I literally probably called the city works for the lady who works for the city of Detroit. And like I said, she used to be a famous newspaper columnist. I'm like, this bitch needs to take, like, why would they put it up when it was windy, blah, blah, blah. Like, these families are all coming here on Monday morning for this memorial.
No.
Like, you do not want their picture to be missing.
Oh my God.
So
wait, were these original pictures or were these copies of the pictures? Like, did they print out? Did people?
No, what happened was the families emailed pictures to this email.
All right. So at least it's not and like if they lost something, it's not like, okay, you're losing.
No,
that would be even worse. It's like,
no, these are huge. These are huge posters.
Oh,
they blew up and made huge posters from these pictures. And then you drive around and like there's the posters. There's like 900 of them. You see all. I get
it. And were they pinned up? Like, how did they fly away? Were they not?
Well, they used this adhesive onto 2 or 3 sticks on the back, and then put the sticks like into.
But it was just too windy.
Put them into the ground, but it was just too windy when they put them out. They probably put them out Saturday morning when the wind was heavy. Like, they should have waited to put them up until like Saturday night or even Sunday morning. So I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, these families are going to come here. And like at least 15 of the pictures are blown away. Half of them are on the ground. So like I took 2 of the pictures and put them in my SUV. They could barely fit. They were so huge. I put them in there because they were like they were going to blow away. Like, they were on the ground. They were going to blow away. I put them in my SUV. I went over to my mom's house. Like, and I was like, okay, you need to, send a group text to me and her because I don't have her in my phone or whatever. Like, and I like, my mom created a group text, and then me and the lady who's supposed to run it, I'm like, hey, there's like 15 of them missing. I don't know what the names are. Do you have a list you can send me so then I can tell you which ones are missing based on, the alphabetizing and everything? Cause I went out and looked. Do you know what this bitch texted? She said, oh, I don't have a list. I would have fucking firebombed her fucking house if I knew where you dumb bitch. This is like the most important thing you've ever done in your life. To honor these families. She said, I don't have a list.
She doesn't have a list of the people who submitted? What are you talking?
So I was like, okay, cool.
Someone has to have a list, right?
Someone has a list, but she's in charge of everything.
Oh,
she doesn't care about it. So, and this is not really her city. Like, she came here to work at one of our newspapers as a columnist, but this is not where she's from. So maybe she doesn't care because these are not people.
But it's black. This is a black woman, I'm assuming.
This is a black woman, and 90% of the people in the tribute, if not more, are black. Mm. Like, there were a sprinkling of white faces, Arab faces. The vast majority of the people in the tribute are black, with some white people sprinkled in. Yeah. So, and some Hispanics too, sprinkled in. So, who passed away from COVID. So I was getting so pissed off. I called our mutual friend who, worked in journalism here for a long time and worked in city government here for a long time. And then I was ranting and he told me.
So she didn't even tell you someone else who might have it? She just was like, I don't have the list.
She didn't say shit that night. So this morning though, what I decided to do, I wake up early, like, and I go to a dollar store. I get some duct tape and some scissors, and I have the two posters in my car, and I retape those to the the sticks that are holding them in the ground. Those two, and then I go through from 8:45 this morning up to 1 o'clock, taping all the ones that were loose.
Oh, wow.
All through A through W. It ended in W. There was no Y, W, X, Y. There was no X, Y, or Z. It ended in W. I did A through W. I taped all the ones that were loose.
That is wild.
Then what I did is I had a notebook and I wrote down, like,
you wrote down all the names?
I wrote down where there was sticks,
missing.
but where it was missing. So I said, and I had no list of names. So I said, okay, it's between this person and this person, and it's not these similar names that you might think it is. And I wrote it down in a notebook. And what happened was there was one poster board in my car that I had taken up the night before because it was going to blow away, and it was a C last name, and her last name was Coker, Coker. Oh, so sad. It was so sad. She passed away. But, so I had to go back around the island. It's like a one-way drive. It's a one-way road around the island. So I had to go back around the island. And back when I was going back to the Seas to put her poster board out, I ran into two people who worked for the city of Detroit, and they were hammering them down so that they would stick. So they actually came back and were doing, because I didn't have a hammer, so I couldn't, there were ones that were like, they were still affixed to the sticks, but they weren't going to stay in because I forgot to bring a hammer. So they were doing that, which is great. And they were doing some more taping because but I did a lot of the taping. I did almost all of it, really.
But was there no one else in that office who was like working on this project who you could have like, obviously she wasn't trying to be fucking helpful at all, but I'm like, this doesn't seem like a project that she was just handling. Because I feel like if it was, it wouldn't have gotten done at all. But I'm surprised that like no one else was like, oh, you can reach out to me. Like that's so like it's great that you did that. It's amazing. And I know why you did it because you love, I
love my city.
You love your city.
I want these people, these people who to be. I want them to be properly honored. Like when their families come, I want their pictures to be there.
But it's so frustrating that no one else in the literal city government or some in that was involved with this that you could have reached out to. I know it's a weekend, but still, this project.
Well, some girls came through. Yeah, this funeral procession or this memorial ceremony is on Monday morning. It is on Monday morning. So I gave the notebook that I wrote all the missing. It's between this and this person where this person is missing. Like I gave that to the two city workers when I saw them in the Seas. They were working in the Seas, which is where I had to go back to. And so. They were thankful, but then don't you know that this bitch who's over everything, I get home, I actually had to do some work, and I finished doing my work.
After having been doing this for the last 3 or 4 hours.
She calls me, she's like, can you help some more? And I'm like, okay, help with what? She was like, cause I said, I already gave them like what I had. She said, well, they have the actual list now. Can you go and check some off?
Bitch, so what are you doing, bitch? What are you fucking doing?
So I said, because it wasn't about her, I said, okay, yeah, I can go do that. I can go do that. So I go back. I was just coming back before this recording. I went and checked off all the L's and all the S's. So I like to make, and there were like, we found the actual names of 2 people who were missing, one an L, one an S. But then she was supposed to come, I live pretty close to the park. She lives even closer. But like, I got there within 10, 12 minutes and then was meeting the girl who had the actual list and did L's and S's for her. But then I said, I gotta come back here and record this podcast. She was doing a lot of them. She did a lot. The girl who was newly there was doing a lot. She was, but then, so as I'm getting ready to leave to come record this, hours later, supposedly the lady who's over it was supposed to come and help. Mm-hmm. So she's like, I'm giving the girl back the list so I can come back and record with you. That lady who's over it, the bitch I can't stand, she's just coming in hours later after she asked me. And then I was like, and I was like, oh, where is so and so? And the girl who I was working with was like, oh, she's supposed to be on her way. Don't you know, girl, when I am driving off the island to come record with you, I see that fucking bitch driving off the island too, who's supposed to be meeting the girl and helping her finish the list.
Wait, so you mean driving away?
She's driving away from the island. Like, she never met up. She just decided not to meet up with the girl, just to drive off the island. So, and mind you, I saw the mayor of Detroit in his car circulating and looking at the tribute earlier today too. Like, I tried to stop him because
so I could rat out on that bitch.
So I wanted to rat out on that bitch. Actually, I wanted to, but he didn't. He thought I was just a nigger on the street. Like, he didn't know. Who I was with my mask on or whatever.
Because you're a girl. You're a girl in Detroit. Some people will know you. You're in it. Yeah.
He would know. He knows my
you.
family.
Okay.
He knows my family.
We'll leave it like that.
But I had my mask on. He just thought I was some nigger on the street. He didn't stop. I was trying to wave him down. So I was going to tell on that bitch.
No,
fuck her.
I mean, I feel like you should, right? Like, girl, I think you should still do it. Like, even if it's just like going through the official, like, I want to make a complaint. Like, I was a citizen. I saw this happen. Like, this is unacceptable. Like, this needs to be better. Don't ever let something like this happen again. Like, these people sent in photos of their loved ones, and then those photos got blown away and were no longer there. Imagine if no one had corrected this by Monday fucking morning. Like,
right?
What would
so
you?
I mean,
it would have been
have
awful
no guarantee.
PR.
Well,
beyond it being awful PR, it would just been awful for those families to experience.
For those
go
families
there and see, like,
too.
Where's the person I lost? That I didn't even get to see, potentially not even see, or had to go through, wasn't expecting to lose. Like, I think you should send something in.
One girl rode around while they saw me with my list and my little mask on, and they stopped me with my little list, and they saw me maybe taping up something. They were like, "Oh, my mom's not here," and so one girl did, but granted, it wasn't the official ceremony yet. So I said, "Oh, well, they're supposed to be reprinting, the ones that might have blown away tonight."
But it's like so sad that you need to do that. Like, you need to be like,
yeah. And another man too was like, "Yeah, my brother's not here."
Ooh. Girl, you gotta let somebody know.
Thankfully, they gave me the names because I wouldn't have known thankfully, they gave me the names, so I knew at least immediately who two missing people were. So we could get those reprinted. But I don't have any connection to the printer who's printing those photos, so they say they're reprinting those tonight and putting them up, but the tribute starts at like 9 a.m.
Oh my God,
Monday. It's already getting dark here in Detroit. It's 8 p.m. It's 8:16. It's already getting dark. So, I pray that they get those up in time because I think that ceremony starts at like 9:30 or 10 a.m. tomorrow. And I
don't know why this is hitting me. This is so sad, girl. This is gonna be the story you're gonna tell. This is so sad.
Girl, it was supposed to be like, I think it's like 900.
It
was 950 people, and I would say 900 of them are black.
Ugh.
And probably 50 of them were white or Hispanic.
Oh.
It was hard to see. And it was sad all around because actually one of the white men who passed away, I was taping up his poster. Because it was like flimsy. I was taping up his poster. And another white man who was riding around the island on a bike stopped and was like, "Oh, wow, I know him." And he told me a little bit of his story. He was telling me that this man was a retired. He told me his profession. But what was really interesting is that the man, he wasn't a priest, but he considered himself part of this religious order. And so he was like he took a vow of celibacy. He was like a brother in this religious order. And so the man also rode his bike everywhere he went, and he was like this really nice man. And he was white. He was an Italian American man. And you could just tell from his picture. I don't know. He had like he seemed to have like a good spirit. And the man said he rode he was a bike rider, this guy. And he said that the guy who passed away also rode his bike everywhere around town.
And Miss DJ.
Oh, he was a retired. He worked at the casino. He was but he was a retired chef at a local casino. That's what it was. But he somehow caught COVID and passed away. And he was probably in his 60s or early 70s.
And Miss DJT had the audacity to go in that RNC and say how good of a job she did.
Oh my gosh. If you could see this memorial, I hope New York does something in other cities, do something similar like we're doing.
You should. I mean, I don't know. It's a little weird because it's like I'm one of those weird people who's like sometimes on social media I don't always think it's proper to post certain memorials or things, but at the very least, if there's an article about it, I think it's worth me posting on our Tuesday Queens account, or even like if there's an article, I'm sure there will be an article or press about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm a little weird about like I always think it's weird when people go to like the Holocaust Memorial and then post it on their Instagram. I'm like,
yeah, that is weird. They don't want you to do that either.
Yeah,
when
they don't.
Memorial, they don't want you to do
like
that.
even like the lynching one, like in God, where is that? I'm blanking. Missouri, I think. The lynching.
I think it might be in Alabama
or Alabama.
I think, or it's either in Alabama or Mississippi.
Yeah, I'm blanking. But like that one, it's like, okay, well, that one can kind of get tied in different things. But I don't know. Sometimes with memorials, well, it's almost like if people do like selfies in memorials, that I can't stand. Like, it's like, what are you doing? Like, if you're just gonna take a picture,
it's in
of
Alabama.
memorial,
It's in Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay, okay. So wow.
Yeah, but no. But there were already reporters. No, this is a very public memorial. This is like people are driving around looking at the photos. It's very public. Like it's very open air, out in the public, and media were already there when I was like taping up posters and like
fixing the fucking memorial.
and doing a checklist of like media were already there. Like it's already been talked. Like there's definitely going to be a lot of media coverage of it locally at the very least, and probably like the New York Times. I bet you the New York Times has really been talking about Detroit a lot in coronavirus because like we're basically the second worst hit city in the country by deaths per capita. So I imagine that there will be some national media coverage, and hopefully some cities like try to replicate what we're doing here, because it is a great thing, even though that self-centered bitch like could have totally fucked it up.
Yeah, bitch, you gotta find some way to rat that girl out. I don't know, like leak it.
I've got
tip
you.
We don't need to talk about it on air in case some things get. But we'll figure out something. But throw that bitch under the fucking. Ugh, that's fucking.
Yes, and I was getting ready to rat her out to a white mayor, girl. That's how much I don't like this bitch. Now I've never told on a black person to a white person in my fucking life. I will never rat a black person out to a white person.
But I can't stand
this was about to be
bitch.
An exception.
I'm gonna make an exception for this fucking bitch.
This was about to be an exception because she was gonna fuck up this memorial of all these COVID victims, particularly the black COVID victims. And like she didn't give a fuck. Like this wasn't the most important job. This should have been the most important. She was a newspaper columnist, and now she's working for the city. To me, this is the most important single project she's ever had to do in her life. Like nothing was more important. This is super important to honor these people correctly, and she's actively fucking it up. But hopefully, other people are gonna make it right.
Yeah. Well, definitely. We'll check back in. It'll be a bit before we have an update on this one, y'all. But we'll definitely. I'm sure you'll talk about it next show.
For sure, I'll update the girls.
All right. Well, thank you for that, girl. Yeah, that was super valuable. I'm so glad I was just told that story. Just nice to see the ways in which certain cities and communities are trying to remember the people that we've lost. We talked about the New York Times doing their piece about, all the taking different news obituaries, but this is just another way of remembering that number that Trump thinks, Missy JT thinks she did a good job on. Those are real people, and these are with real lives. And yes, they may
real people.
And I know some people focus on the fact that like, oh, they're older, but there was not just older people, and they were still people that whether you're in your 50s or 60s, you're still a person, you're still a human.
Girl, in this tribute, there were 2 girls under the age of 10.
Ooh,
there were 2 young. There were 2 baby girls under the age of 10. There were two of them. One was talked about extensively in national media. Her name was Skylar. I'll just mention her. She was 5 years old. Her one of her parents was a police officer. The other is a firefighter. So they were frontline workers, and she passed away from coronavirus at 5 years old. There was another little girl I hadn't heard about prior, and I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was like under the 10 or under. She was a young girl, and she passed away. There were a few 20-something girls in this memorial. There were a few 20-something, and when I say girls, like women, there were a few 20-something women. There was a few young men who were in their 20s or 30s. They were under probably the age of 35. And there were definitely maybe some people like in there. There was a doctor. It was a white guy, a doctor in his late 30s who was married with kids. He was a doctor at a local hospital and died fighting the coronavirus, trying to treat patients. He was 37 years old. So they were not all older. Like mostly they were.
And even then, still losses.
And even when we say older, like some of them were 50s and 60s, like, but life expectancy now is supposed to be in the 80s. Like they lost 30 to, 30 years of their lives, many of them, 20 to 30 years of their lives. So that's a big deal. Like they won't get to see their grandchildren grow up when they should have.
Yeah.
So just think about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, girl. And thank you for that story. So we're going to move on to listener mail. So we did have something come in. So just a reminder, you can send questions, comments, your own pandemic stories to ask them, ASKTHEM at twosafequeens.com. So we had something come in. All right, so I'm gonna let y'all know, girls. Okay, if you want us to talk about something, it's fine. You can let us know, but probably send us an email about it, or just don't just slide up in our DMs because we're happy to talk about things that y'all want us to talk about. But send us an email. We got an email address. You can send it. You can DM the Instagram account too, our Twitter. That's fine too. But our personals, because I don't even like social media. But it's fine. It's fine. I'm just letting y'all know.
I will say it's mostly me. Some of you girls are trying to interact with Miss Malachi, and I will say it's mostly me, Miss Deveraux, that you girls are interacting with on our Instagram, like or even usually on Twitter. Like very rarely is it Miss Malachi,
because I hate social media.
Exactly. So just letting you know that, because some of you girls think you're talking to Miss Malachi, it's usually Deveraux.
So basically someone's just asking about Jerry Falwell, who was a former president of Liberty University, big evangelical leader, figure. His father, I had just looked up his father's name and I forgot it.
His father was Jerry Falwell.
Jerry Falwell Sr. Oh yeah,
he
okay.
was Jerry Falwell Jr. Yeah.
There it is. So his father, huge televangelist, huge in the evangelical community. And, in some way, I didn't realize it, but in some ways had a real hand in helping to get that early support for Miss DJT. And it's just so interesting how, like, conservatives, the hypocrisy, because her fall, it's been delicious. Like, basically, there's a whole mess about this young man. I think he's a young brown man. Maybe he's Latinx?
No.
Maybe not.
I don't.
Maybe he just had a tan. Maybe he just had a tan.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. Just in my memory, I'm just seeing him as brown, but actually he's just a white boy, who basically has been a part of their family and a part of their relationship with his wife, where they kind of have like an open relationship. And basically, like, they kind of had a situation, an arrangement where he would participate and even like have sex with Jerry Falwell's wife, and just and apparently he was not the only one that she kind of explored with. And although he has denied being a part of their activities, in quotes, it seems like he probably was looking in on, or watching from afar. I don't even know, maybe doing more, but ultimately he has stepped down from that. But girl, did you follow any of this tea with Jerry Falwell? Cause I think it's kind of, I mean, at this point, Miss DJT, she's got the evangelical support without either way. Like, she's solidified it because she's gonna, support the things they care about, like, anti-abortion and, focusing on Christianity, a certain type of Christian doctrine. But did you follow any of this Jerry Falwell tea?
I have, and you actually are right. The young man is a white Hispanic.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's a white Hispanic.
Okay, cool.
And his name, I think, is Giancarlo Grande, but he doesn't look look that brown to me. He doesn't look that brown to me. You were saying he was brown.
Okay.
But girl, so yeah, I'm glad. I mean, I'm glad there were some rumors about this for years that they had started some kind of business with this pool boy from the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami.
Right. He started as a pool boy.
And that there was some scandalous, salacious tea, but like, girl, and the young man was 20 years old at the time. So while it wasn't illegal, it was certainly maybe predatory, right? Mm-hmm. But the issue is this too. Not even, it's an additional issue is a young man who was a friend of their sons, of Jerry Falwell Jr. and Becky, Falwell's son, said that she was munching on his meat. She was sucking his dick too when he was college age, and she like wanted to continue sucking his dick, and he wasn't into it anymore. So she's kind of like on a nympho tea. She's trying to pretend to be this Christian woman, and she's a fucking nympho. And she likes that young dick, that 21-year-old dick, including her son's friend, girl, who's allegedly come out and said that they were having a sexual relationship too. So not just this young man, but another one. So it's just a pattern of hypocrisy among white evangelicals. Basically their religion is whiteness. It's not really Christianity, or it's not really any kind of, moral code. They want their religion is white supremacy and control over your bodies as a black person, a Latinx person, a woman, a LGBT person, any other marginalized group. Like, they want control of you, but yet they do these things. So,
yes.
Just FYI.
So with that, we can go into our thoughts and prayers. My thoughts and prayers. This has become my portion of the show.
Right.
You said right.
The sad part. Always.
All right, here she goes, girls. It's been a tough week for all of us between Kenosha, and of course, to talk about Chadwick Boseman. I had this discussion with a friend who was talking about. We were talking about a lot of different things, but just about, feeling like as being that depressing girl, I don't have a lot of faith in people. And it wasn't quite that much of a critique, but I will say that ultimately what I have faith in is black people. I have faith in not just black people, but certain people to do what's right and to survive this moment. If we have another 4 years, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I do have faith in us, especially as black people. And again, surviving is not the same as thriving, and I wish we could have more space to imagine what's possible and imagine what we could do without the bounds of like racism and white supremacy and these things that continue to hammer against us, and fucking coronavirus. But even in these moments, we find ways to be creative and to do well and to prosper, and that's the most optimistic you'll hear from me. And now to kind of then bring that back down, kind of, let's have that moment from Chadwick Boseman talking about imagination. Chadwick Boseman recently died. Oh God, I think I saw this news on Friday. Was it Friday? Friday.
Yeah, it was Friday night.
I was catching up with a friend. I literally was on the phone with a girlfriend. And of course, because my mind is always running when I'm on the phone, I was just randomly checking on Twitter. And I was like, Chadwick Boseman died, and of course you gotta, Twitter kills somebody off every other fucking day. Yeah, so I was like, but then that's Instagram picture, like the official statement from the family. He died at the age of 43 from colon cancer. He had been fighting it for the last 4 years. So Black Panther came out, I think, in 2018. So he had been fighting it while they were filming Black Panther. I think it may be in the early stages, but still he had been fighting it for a while. Chadwick Boseman, he was born in South Carolina. He's a Howard University grad. I know his speech to Howard University graduates has been going around. His first big break was playing Jackie Robinson in 42. He also played Thurgood Marshall, the famous black second Marshall Supreme Court Justice.
Supreme Court
Justice. Judge. I couldn't remember if he was federal or Supreme Court judge. And Marshall, he was recently in Spike Lee's recent Netflix film Defy Bloods, which is about like a bunch of black vets from Vietnam going back to Vietnam to kind of find treasure, and it's a whole thing. But for me, he was also my king, bitch. Wakanda forever, bitch. T'Challa, bitch. So, and I was talking to a friend about how this moment hit me, just seeing that, like, for me, it wasn't, first it was seeing a black superhero, definitely, that's a moment, and that's power, but also seeing that it was a black superhero that people that weren't black could see themselves in. Because so many of these superheroes, I think, were these like, technically, I mean, we've been talking a lot, some people in the geek realms have been talking a lot about Spider-Man and how there's now a black Latinx Spider-Man named Miles Morales. And technically, Spider-Man wears a hood. Anyone could be Spider-Man. But there's something about T'Challa where he both wore a costume, but he also was, outside of his costume, he was still the Black Panther. And to see like little white kids, see Latinx, see kids, see Asian, see Black Panther did well in Asia. Like that was a thing that had always been around with Hollywood, was that black films don't travel, especially to the East, to Asia. But Black Panther did really well there. And it just was one of those moments of saying that like all these preconceived notions and ideas that you have about black people and what we can be and what we can do, especially in literally creative space, is not true and is limiting. So... and he was a part of that by playing this really iconic figure. And I know people are already rushing to think about like, oh my God, are they going to recast and who is it going to be and all this? But I'm just like sitting in this moment that truly, he was 43 and I think he has so many more years to give. And it was cancer. And girl, I still think Miss Corona might have been involved, but but it still is a really sad thing to see happen, because I think he had so much more to give us.
So much more to give us. I would just that I haven't been able to process that news yet. Really, this weekend, like I took it out of my mind when I saw it on Friday night, so I could go to sleep. Like I had to. I just too much Black Death, and that to lose one of our like literal kings, like was just.
A king who was like almost a rising king, like someone who was on his,
but like a literal king, like in King T'Challa, like to me, like a literal king, like in the black community, like it was just at 43, like I haven't been able to process that all weekend. I've had to think about other things. Yeah, it's too devastating.
Moment for him, girl. You got two staffs to lift us back up. No.
Not this week, girl.
Not this week. So we're gonna end it on my note. Yeah. We can't leave it this down. Girl, again,
it's a tough week.
It's a tough week, but I still believe in us. I'll leave it on that. So that's our show. Social media. To Save Queens, y'all know what it is. Keep spreading the show out. We're trying to, always grow, get bigger, teach the girls something. So please spread the word, rate us, review us on the podcast platform of your choice. I hope y'all stay safe, healthy, and saved. And I hope y'all, for those of y'all who went to the March on Washington, that y'all get home safely, because these white people out here crazy. And Miss Deveraux, do you have a final word to leave the children with?
Yeah, make sure you wrap up that COVID hit, girls. Before you put it in your mouth, wrap that shit up, please.
Oh, man. Get your rest in, girls. We'll be back.
Bye, girls.